Good morning, everyone. Can everyone hear without us using the microphone?
Speak loudly, please.
Good morning, everyone. I need to turn it on first. Is that better? Hello? Man, I got it turned on. Green light's on.
Where's the amp? Excuse me. There's the amp over here.
That one in the middle's working.
He's the main man. Yeah, but I don't know where the amp is for what it is. So it's just a switch on the main. Yours working?
It worked for a minute, didn't it?
No, I think that's this one. Just use this one and we'll transfer it back and forth.
Hello? Nope, it's working now. I gotta lean it.
It's over there.
Okay, that's not working. Every once in a while it works. Good morning and welcome to the PEIA Task Force tour. My name is Joe White and I am a member of the PEIA Task Force. I have Dr. Sherry Young and Christine Campbell here with us today, the Legislative and Public Outreach Committee. So I would like to take, if they would, just for a second, to introduce themselves, the panel, and who they're with.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sherry Young. I'm the Vice President of the West Virginia State Medical Association and President of the West Virginia Academy of Family Physicians. Sorry.
Louder.
Louder.
I'm not quite as loud as Joe, I apologize.
Hands it right.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank you guys for welcoming us to Wheeling, West Virginia. It's a beautiful place. We came up from Charleston yesterday, which is where I'm originally from. I'm a physician in Charleston. I am the Vice President of the West Virginia State Medical Association, President-elect of the West Virginia Academy of Family Physicians, and I'm here today to hear what we can do to help you be happier with your PEIA. So thank you for having me.
It's not working.
It's working. She just didn't speak it
right
close
on.
to her mouth. Get it up.
There's a red light on.
Yeah,
I'm
please, sure.
Christine Campbell. I'm the president of AFT West Virginia. I taught for 18 years. I've been the president and was elected in 2012. So I have been very active in education and making sure we've been fighting against the PEIA increases for a really long time. So I'm excited to be part of the task force and to hear what you have to say and work to find solutions that will benefit all the participants in West Virginia. So thank you for being here.
And I'm Joe I'm Joe White with the Executive Director of the West Virginia School Service Personnel Association. We look forward to hearing your opinions on the current plan and what you see as a fix going forward. We ask that you sign up in order to speak. Miss Amanda is sitting back there at the back table, and she'll continue to sign people up as we need. We will call you to come to the front microphone if it's working. If it's not, you can pretend it's working. So, when it's your turn to speak. Our hope is that everyone gets a chance to speak today, so that we can set aside 2 hours for this program. So far, we've maybe just a few more. We ask that you be respectful of the other speakers and their time frame and try to stay in the amount of time so that everybody will get a chance to speak. Our goal is to make sure that everyone here today does not leave this room unless they feel they've been heard. So we want you to speak in your personal line. We also have surveys available for you at the signing table that you can fill out. Line what the most popular fixes are for the PEIA participants. Without further ado, as the microphone fades in and fades out, we'll begin.
The first person on the list is Ivan Miles.
I don't know if you know, I speak rather loud, so I don't know if we need the microphone. I welcome you to Wheeling. I'm a long-time resident. I've been here all my life, and that's a long time.
Thank you. Right now I am the Vice President of the Retired Association of School Employees for Ohio County. Next week I'll become the President. And we've been asked to voice our opinions. One of the things that we're hearing that the PEIA is looking into is creating vouchers, and that we are against that. We'd like to stay with our Humana program that we have under Medicare, and that is one thing that it works well with us. We are against any kind of voucher system, and it's on the state level wise. There, that was something we were in plan with, so we can have everybody at the meeting said no vouchers at all. As retirees, you probably have heard this before, but once you retire, whatever the pension check is, you do not see an increase at all. So when prices of your out-of-pocket, your co-pays, and your prescriptions go up, that comes out of our pension money. So we're not getting the increases in salaries as other employees are. That's a main issue also. One of the things that I've always questioned, my wife taught for over 37 years, and I was a school bus driver for 8.5. But the system, to me, there's too many breakdowns in the PEIA, how people pay. Why isn't there a simple, well, the way it is, the more you make, the more they take. And Mr. Carmichael last night, when I watched Steve Parkersburg, he thought that was a very unique and very positive system. And I look at it as, it may be unique to him, but when you have just a better way would be, if you're a single person, you pay a single rate. If you're a family, you pay a family rate. And that is it. So I was a professional firefighter for 27 years, and that's the way it was on ours. A guy came in on the job. If he had 3 children, and as a firefighter, and if you're an assistant chief and you had a family of 5, guess what? You both paid the same. But if a single guy came on, he paid a single rate, and then you have an assistant chief was single, he paid a single rate. So there was no difference in pay scales on that line. So single and family would take care of the rate wise. Let's see what else. And that's another question. Why is there so many different breakdowns in PEIA of the system? You get your booklet that shows the stuff, the rates in it, and there's so many different possibilities of what you could fall under. It gets really confusing.
Are you talking about the tiers or
Tiers,
the plans?
yes, the tiers. And as our retirement organization throughout the state, Ohio County was the leader in this, asking of a severance fee on the oil and gas. We had asked for it was actually half of 1% of money on the severance fee from the oil and gas to be put aside strictly for PEIA and a cost of living for the retirees. But the feeling that I'm getting from our organization, they would rather see most of it go towards the PEIA cost factors. And And so we, because things keep fluctuating, it comes out of our pocket some way or the others, because we're not getting, again, the raises. So, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bob Talvin,
Treveri.
Treveri. How do you spell that?
Triveri. Spell river, put a T in the front and an I at the back.
Yeah.
Been called by work,
I was a football coach. I've been called a more person. I'm a retired school teacher from Marshall County. I'm retired from WVEA. I've been a member. I am now a lifelong member. I didn't find this out until during the strike or the walkout, whatever you want to call it. I do work for WVEA on a part-time basis, and I want to pick up where I've been left off about the tier system. When we first started, you were paid strictly on your teaching amount. You coach, you did anything else, it wasn't added in. Now it's added in, and for my son, he just moved up a tier because he got his coaching pay, and he goes up another tier, which is not fair. Okay, that's if that worked. Back to where I started. Okay, on the severance tax, they're saying 7.5%. I'm saying 10%. It's going to be here. They need the gas. It's going to stay here. Earmark it to the general fund. Have the general fund pay PEIA directly. Make sure it goes that way, so it'll always be funded. They're not going to go without the gas. And if you can remember back in the 60s, I'm an old dude. They told us that we ran out of gas by 1967, 1970, right in that area. And then all of a sudden, Texas released all its gas. So I can't believe the manufacturers and the big corporations. So that's something you got to think about. It's going to be here. They want it. They're going to get it some way. And let's get our money's worth out of there. All right. The second thing to save money. Number one, eliminate. This is directed to you, Dr. Sherry Young. I'm looking at your thing. I'm saying Dr. Sherry. But like if you got an MRI tear, an ACL tear, you have to go to rehab before that. And I know, because I coach football, it's happened to me. You do all this rehab, and 95% of the time, it doesn't work. And all you want is an MRI. There's a lot of wasted money right there. If we could eliminate that, that would save us some money. We're into saving money, and let's go on that. The next thing, on your third-party providers, they're getting paid. They're not doing their job. I know this for a fact. We've waited 6 months for this device to show up. Oh, it's on its way. It's on its way. Oh, we've got all this stuff. It's not working. Make sure your providers, it's not you guys, but the PEIA providers are doing their job. I mean, some of them are sitting on their cans not doing anything. And we're wasting money. Basically, that's all I have to say. And I wasn't prepared this time, but somebody talked me into talking, so I've talked every other time. So, you know, I hope you guys can do something. We need it, and you're going to eliminate teaching jobs. I'm not eliminating. You're searching for teaching jobs. As I was talking with Ivan as I walked in, there are 750 jobs. I'm wrong. There are 1,000 jobs in the middle of the state that we need. There's no math. There's no science. There's no foreign language, and there's special needs or special ed kids and teachers. We don't have, and there's no incentive for them to come. Take away the health care, people are going to start to leave, more so than they are now. I mean, I'm retired, I'm stuck here, I can't go anywhere. So, please help us and do the best you can. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name's Jerry Ames. I'm the local president for Ohio County for the WVSSPA, and very proud of it, and also the state vice president for the WVSSPA. And I'd first like to thank you folks for accepting the position on this board and taking the time out of your Saturdays and your ways and putting a lot of time into this to be away from your family, and you'd be commended for that. And you're here for a great cause, and so am I. And I represent a lot of people, not only in Ohio County, but in West Virginia. And wrote about this. our policy personnel level. For 200-day employee, maybe a little bit less. Now try to need medicine and go to the store, pay your car insurance. That doesn't go very far. So we have people that's working 2 and 3 jobs. They're coming to work, they're tired because they're working 2 or 3 jobs. So what we're asking you is to at least try to find a way to get that severance tax in there and get it raised. And also, we know that there's additional funds coming in now to the state. So with all the spin-offs from the gas and that sort of thing, we think that revenues is up, which I think it is. I was reading. So we really want you to consider that, and we want them to consider that very, very hard. And I can tell you this: if they don't, just remember, we're 55 strong, and that's the way it's going to be. I'll tell you that all the way to the end. So thank you for listening to us today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dave Pethel, Delegate Dave.
Down there, Dave.
Thank you very much. I'd say it's really good to be here today and have the opportunity to speak. I'm Dave Pethel. I'm a member of the West Virginia House of Delegates. I represent the 5th Delegate District, which is all of Wetzel and a small portion of the western part of Monongalia County. For the record, I was a Wetzel County for 40 years. 5 years ago, I was a subcommittee member of PEIA. I know that PEIA and proper benefits is very important, not only to active teachers, school service personnel, and public employees that have PEIA, but it's also very important to retirees. I look forward to taking a close look at the recommendations that the task force comes up with. I believe that health care and PEIA funding was the major emphasis for the teacher and school service personnel walkout during this past legislative session. I want all of you to know that I am with you. I really look up to you and admire what all of you are doing. Thank each and every one of you for coming here today, and I look forward to seeing and speaking with you in the future. Certainly glad that we have some people here from Wetzel County today. I really appreciate you coming out. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ron Johnston.
Hi,
Hello.
I'm not president of anything. I'm here to speak on behalf of retired public employees. I am a retired public employee with 38 years of service. Public employees do valuable work. Part of what I did was, for so many years, was in the Office of Health Facility Licensure and Certification, where we ensured the minimum standards of quality for health care for all citizens. And I don't think a lot of citizens even know that that gets done, but it's very important. Retirees are on a fixed income. I retired 12 years ago. There's just so much when we were working, we were probably, working for less money than we could get with comparable education in the private sector. But we were promised that when we retired, we'd have good health care at a reasonable cost. Well, it's done nothing but go up and up and up and up. But the income is fixed. Like the other gentleman made that point. So what I want to say to the state is, keep your promise that you made to faithful public employees who retired, looking forward to good health care. Keep the funding at a level that we don't have to keep increasing our out-of-pocket costs every year. It's just, people just can't do it. Of course, you should develop some permanent funding that's dedicated. The gas severance tax would be a good one, maybe. Sports betting revenue is going to be coming up. Something to permanently fund PEIA for everybody. That's basically what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr.
Morning, everybody. I'm Joe Canistro. I'm a delegate from Marshall County, which is the 4th delegate district. I represent all of Marshall County and part of Ohio County, which is South Wheeling to 43rd Street, and then all the way out Stone Church Road, Middle Creek, all the way to the Pennsylvania line. For the last 2 years, I've served in the West Virginia House of Delegates representing the 4th district. My mother is a retired public employee. She was a school teacher's aide, kindergarten special education aide. My father was a member of the West Virginia Education Association. He taught social studies and driver's education in Marshall County for over 30 years. First, problem with
We know that there's additional funds coming in now to the state. So with all the spin-offs from the gas and that sort of thing, you think that the revenue is up, which I think it is. I was reading. So we really want you to consider that, and we want them to consider that very, very hard. And I can tell you this:
for years, having at least talking about state. We also should be looking into maybe changing to a production tax, which instead of taxing it as it comes out of the ground, as soon as it's out of the ground, maybe we tax it on the profit they make when they actually use our oil and gas. I'll give you one more option that I know of that's scheduled to bring $219 million into the state of Pennsylvania, and that's instead of a severance tax or a production tax, they have an impact fee. Each year they charge these companies an impact fee for each well. So there's another way you can think about it. So there are avenues out there for a permanent funding source. In representing my district, the first thing I need to do is I need to be a good listener. And I listen to the people that I represent. I hear what they want to see happen in Charleston. That's why the teachers walked out. They weren't listening. No one was listening to them. There are avenues. We've been told that we would need at least $50 million a year to fund PEIA, so the source has to give us that, and then because of increases, a little bit percentage more each year, so forth and so on. So that's what we're looking at. But there are other problems too. We can't be forcing people that are on PEIA to keep paying multiple bills for multiple doctors. I know a constituent of mine raised that issue with me this morning for the same tests or same x-rays. We can't force members to have to join health clubs and things like that. And if you do, then you get a break, and if you don't, you're penalized. some people, let's face it, some people just aren't going to be able to do that. But there shouldn't be a penalty if you don't. If they want incentives, if you do, that's fine. Don't penalize people. Basically, I'm glad to see that everybody's here to learn about this issue and to hear what you all have to say, because that's the first part of my job, is to listen to you all. So I look forward to hearing what you have to say, and I look forward to speaking with you about PEIA.
Jackie Schreiner.
Hello, I'm Jackie Schreiner. I'm a high school English teacher and here in Wheeling. I come on a more personal level. I'm also a type 1 diabetic with hyperthyroidism and asthma. I not only work my full-time job at Wheeling Park, but I also work numerous Saturdays running the ACT at Park. I also proctor the SAT. In addition to that, I teach summer school in the months of June, sometimes into July. Oh, and I also facilitate courses for the West Virginia Department of Education, which requires about 20 hours a week, maybe more, maybe less, sometimes. Well, you would think I really love teaching, being that I've taken all these extra jobs. I actually do, but I would certainly, I don't know, of course I'm a teacher, I would certainly not want to have to work 60 hours a week, most weeks. But why do I? Well, it's simple. I do this to afford the medication to live. At $100 a bottle, insulin, plus diabetic pump supplies, plus allergy meds, thyroid meds, and anything else that I need, do not come cheap. In addition to those $40 co-pays, then co-insurance, I'm medical broke. The deductible alone is very difficult because while most people are able to chunk that out in different bills, I get that $600 deductible bill all at once for my pump supplies. So point one I'm making is this. People with chronic illnesses must work more and harder to be able to afford life-saving medications. Instead of looking for wellness programs for people like me to participate in, please figure out how to decrease these medication costs. The second point I would like to make is I suffer from low blood sugars. Doctors have tried different things to alleviate this. Of course, the insulin pump was one of those. In September of 2003, I had a blood sugar of 8. And if you know anything about blood sugars, that's pretty dangerously low. Of course, my son found me, was able to call an ambulance, get me to the hospital, get me back on, and that's why actually I'm having an insulin pump. My endocrinologist felt the best option for me was the pump with a continuous glucose monitor. All my other doctors, my general practice, I have others, thought this was a medical necessity. Then we hit that snag. It was denied by health plan PEIA. Well, you don't realize what a motivator almost dying in your sleep is. So I spent the next several months researching the importance of CMGs in the treatment of insulin-dependent diabetics and why it was important to me and my family. And I filed 3 appeals and agreements to allow that to allow me to be able to have a continuous glucose monitor. I won that appeal, the final appeal. I went in with my family and a big packet about that thing of everything I had researched and why it was so important for diabetics like myself to be able to have a continuous glucose monitor. I won, and I not only won for myself, but for other diabetics like me, because then they were able to get these continuous glucose monitors. So my second point is that it should not have been so difficult, 3 months, that I worked on this. If a doctor feels it's a medical necessity for a certain treatment, please revise policies where medications and treatments are denied or approved. That was point number 2. My final point is that as part of the PEIA and health plan or whatever other insurances are used, you want your employees to have optimum wellness. Well, in diabetics, that's an issue because what happens is you get discounts on different medications, you know, back and forth. And so what happens is diabetics are required to use the current medication that is the, I guess it's the cheapest at that time. So diabetics are asked to switch from Novolog to Humalog, from Humalog back to Novolog. Well, the point is that our doctors and ourselves, you know, we already know what the better insulin is for a diabetic. All insulins are not the same. You know, just because you're getting a cheaper deal does not mean that it's going to be our best option. So, what happens when a different, insulin is put out there, a generic one? Is that, we have to try that one also for X amount of time? You know, each diabetic's body is different. Each reacts to different insulin, absorbs it differently. So instead of trying to find wellness programs for us to, again, participate in, allow diabetics to use the correct medication that has been successfully managed, treatment options for us. And that even includes test strips, we have test strips that work with our insulin pumps. I'm not allowed to use those because they are not approved by our company. They only go with one company that gives them whatever discount. So the one that aligns with, that directly goes into my pump, I am not allowed to use that one. So that's another issue I think that needs worked on. So my third point is allow doctors and patients to determine the best course of treatment and support that treatment in lieu of saving money, because the reality is the more you mess with the treatment of a diabetic, the easier they become ill, have damaged organs, and have more stress, all of which has an adverse effect upon health. So again, I want to thank you for listening to me. I want you to consider these issues that diabetics like myself have been dealing with and try to be more proactive. And we want to be hardworking members of the community, but when dealing with these other issues of our health, just trying to get and pay for our medications and get the right medications approved, it is an adverse effect on our health. Thank you very much.
You were denied a continuous glucose monitor.
Correct.
By PEIA.
Correct.
Your doctor recommended it.
I had 4 doctors recommended
Recommended. So
right.
Was that a medical professional through PEIA that denied that?
It was health planned through PEIA. They, I guess it was, the norm was to deny the continuous glucose monitor.
Okay, so now, is it the monitor that you have that you can't use the strips that's made for that monitor?
My pump.
Your pump?
Right. They
You have to
use
use
one
it.
touch, they use the one touch. The pump aligns with the bare contour.
So you
And
filed 3 appeals and 1 for your monitor?
continuous glucose monitor, yes.
Is there any legal people involved in that on part of PEIA? How long did that take?
When it took me 3 months to gather data, I had to go through the appeals process. The first one is my doctor puts it through, they say no. I filed the second appeal, my doctor and whatever other doctor I had sign off. Again, they say no. And then you have the right to the grievance procedure, which you appear before a board of 12, I think. Jen, there were about a dozen people in the room, 12 other medical professionals, health plan has, and they were doctors and nurses and everyone on that board. And when I walked in, I was fully prepared. I had done months worth of data from PubMed. My sister is a doctor at PEIA. And so I knew why I needed the CMG. I knew what the CMG did for type 1 diabetics. I knew that it was important. And every single aspect of it I had covered. I had a packet about that big to give each and every individual, but point by point. I only got maybe less than halfway through. They're okay, you got it. because they knew it made sense.
How much do you, I'm gonna ask you a question, you may not know or.
Oh, I
you
do
may
know, trust me.
How much would the average continuous glucose monitor cost?
The monitor itself is about $1,000 because it has a transmitter. The transmitter, it isn't the transmitter that's expensive, it's the sensors attached to it. And they run about $600 a month, the sensors do.
How much do you think they spent fighting that for 3 months?
Entirely more than what I'm sure you're right about that. Because I had filed appeals down, I had written PEIA maybe 8 times. I had spoken to people down in Charleston. I had gotten a numerous amount of people to, tell me, oh, you can't get this, and I was just determined because I don't know if you understand is when you have low blood sugars. I mean, I've shut my pump off at 90, but still, there's not anything that's they can do to alleviate that. But with the pump now, I know right when because I have the continuous glucose monitor. As soon as it drops below 65, it warns me, it beeps, it vibrates, it does all these things. I was afraid to go to sleep at night because when you have a blood glucose of 8, it took me till like 3 o'clock that afternoon. This happened at 10:30. My son came and found me. Of course, my kids are always, cognizant of the fact that I'm a diabetic. But when you do that one time, you are fearful, and people do die in their sleep being an insulin-dependent diabetic. So yeah, it was nerve-wracking, but I knew this is what we needed to do, and I fought it to the end. So, and now other diabetics are able to get those because of that. So I feel really proud about that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
John and Karen Garvin.
Thank you. My pension is just about gone. I drove 24 years for Ohio County Schools, and they pretty much ate my complete pension up due to the PEIA expenses. I don't know how much higher it's projected to go, but anything's bad. I mean, there was 5 months that I had to add $500 a month to it due to the respect that they took everything that I had coming to me. And then the $500 a month just to keep it for my wife to be covered after 24 years of driving school bus, that to me is not quite fair. We were forced to, Humana, due to PEIA, could not reach an agreement with the health plan, and then we find out that people are receiving the health plan and we've never been able to be offered that. I don't understand that. Why did the PEIA raise our cost in 2 years in advance? And I've been told that they did that because they get government grants to cover our expenses that we pay extra. That's not really fair to us, but that's, I guess, the way it works.
He's speaking of in advance of the Affordable Care Act. And
Go ahead.
I would like to say directly to our delegates who are here, thank you for being here and thank you for representing us. My question to you is, why is it that we can't get some sort of reform in hospitals, insurance companies, and pharmaceuticals? They're all becoming extremely outrageous. This man is retired, 70 years old. I have a rare form of blood cancer that's incurable. I've been denied disability twice. I appealed it the first time, was denied the second time. I am not permitted to go back to work. I cannot get a back to work slip from my doctor. So I am just backed in the corner and can do absolutely nothing but pray. And that's all I can do.
Okay, we're forced into physicals by PEIA. If we don't take the physical, it's a $500 penalty. I don't understand why this doesn't make sense to me. I don't have a problem with taking the physical. I really don't. Truly, that's not what I'm getting at. But if I'm forced into a physical, why do I have to pay $100 worth of copays to take these physicals to avoid the $500 penalty? That to me is not right. I do feel the physical is correct for everyone that's at my age. Don't have a problem with that a bit. But why do I have to pay $100 to take it? That's another thing that I have. I mean, then I get into statements that why do we permit people to have Narcan? I mean, this doesn't really pertain to you, but it does to our legislators. We give these people the Narcan shots 3 to 4 times a night, and they don't even have to pay it back.
Exactly.
And in all due respects, if they get it one time, I don't have a problem with giving it a second time. I don't want to see them die. But they should be forced to go to a housing facility where they are not permitted to go out and get it again the second and third time in one night. Because it's just costing us as taxpayers money that's totally out of hand. It would be cheaper for us to rent them or buy a house to put them in that they can't stay in, they can't go out and do this, and have them be guarded that they can't get out and get it. And then they should be forced to get a job to pay it if they don't have the money. Or they stay in that housing facility, which is cheaper for the taxpayer than the Narcan shot that's continuously to bring them back to life. I don't want to see them die. That's not the point I'm getting at. Let's see, we also run into, I could go hours and it would be ridiculous. I do appreciate you all coming and listening to us. I'm sorry, when I get nervous, I get tremors and I'm having trouble holding the microphone. My wife, in February, due to her cancer, was having a very hard time with her chemo medicine that she has to take continuously every day. She was not able to eat for a little over a month, and she had lost over 20 pounds, and she was throwing up continuously. I called the doctor, they said take her down and get her admitted into the hospital. I said, what's my only way of doing that? You have to go through the ER. So I have to go to the ER. Then we have to see 3 to 4 doctors. We have to get x-rays. We have to get CAT scans. We have to do all this stuff. And I said, she doesn't need all this. All she needs is admitted to get an IV. Well, we have to do this. So they do this. My co-pays end up like $4 grand for getting admitted. Ridiculous, because I'm paying for 3 doctors to ask the same question. Then the head doctor comes in, asks the same questions. I have to pay for every doctor. The insurance company pays for every doctor. Stupid. They should put a rule out that if I refuse anyone but one doctor, I don't need all the other ones when all I'm trying to do is admission. Then I have to pay for nurses to come in the exact same questions again. True, it's a lower rate because she's an RN instead of a doctor. But it's still same questions, same things, same answers, and I'm paying and the insurance companies are paying. If this was stopped at just one doctor, look at the money the insurance companies and myself would save. There was, each time and 3 times in 1 month, there was usually 30 grand a visit handed out between the insurance companies and myself, which could have been knocked down to less than 10 per visit. That's stupid. And this needs to be addressed through them, and I understand they're listening, and I'm not trying to pick on them. Truly, I appreciate them being here. And I think you understand where I'm coming from. I mean, I was, my 3rd visit within 2 weeks, and I told them she was here 2 days ago, you released her. She doesn't need these x-rays again. She doesn't need the CAT scan again. Well, we have to do this. I said, it's in her charts. Go look at it. All she's here for is to get IVs. No, we have to do that. So we paid for it again to get her admitted to get IVs so she doesn't die. I'm sorry, but I get very emotional with that.
I was in the ER 3 times within 2 weeks. And what happens is I was just vomiting so chronically that my potassium would drop. And when my potassium would drop, my blood pressure would skyrocket. It would go 225 over 115. They're coming in and asking me, Mrs. Garvin, if your heart stops, what do you want us to do? You know, I don't want to put the pressure on this man to have to make decisions on my life. I don't feel that I should have to have all these doctors and nurses come in, not even examine me, just throw a bunch of common questions at me and then charge me the same amount that the head doctor charges. It's money wasted, money thrown away. And if I attempt to refuse it, they will not accept my refusal.
She was saved due to the James
James
in
Cancer
Columbus,
Center in Columbus.
the James Cancer Center. They, after 4 different chemos to try to stop the cancer from eating at her bone marrow, they finally put her on a Imbuvika, which is this time delay chemo. She's not allowed to get off of that for fear she'll die.
I cannot break a bone. If I break a bone, it will not heal, and I was told that if it's a limb, it'll have to be amputated. So I have to be careful with everything I do.
When she's having this much problem with the Imbuvika, I contacted PEIA. It took me 3 weeks, usually 10 hours plus a week, sometimes 3-hour phone calls each time in that 3-week period to try to get her into the James, because it's out of their network now. They don't want to let her go there. This network thing needs to go away also. I'm sorry. Networks gone. But anyway.
I ended up having to change doctors, go down to the Mary Bab Randolph Cancer Center in Morgantown with a whole new doctor, and thankfully, they just accepted my charts up to this point, up to this date, and did not make me go through another bone marrow biopsy and all this again. They were just trying to work with me with this Imbuvika because it was making me deathly ill.
Who denied your disability? You said your disability was denied?
That was denied by Social Security, Medicaid, Social Security Administration. But
I had enough points, but because of my eligibility date,
the work dates.
there was a 3-year period where, when I was working here in the city at the Capitol Music Hall, and they had shut the music hall down to renovate it, there was no work available for me.
I mean, when they speak of people working more than one job, I don't know of any service personnel, and Jerry will agree with me, I don't know of any service personnel that can truly work one service personnel job and sustain their livelihood. It won't happen in the United States of America today. It's not possible. And I always worked 3 jobs. I not only did school bus driving, I did lighting and sound on live shows at the Capitol Theater, the Civic Center, Jamboree in the Hills, and I'm still doing that at the age of 70 because I need to pay her bills. Okay, and I would rather stay home with her, but I can't. There's another thing that the Health Care Act needs to address, whoever can address this with them. They have a clause in the Health Care Act that once you acquire $799, $899.
$899 in a 3-month.
In a quarter, $899 towards health care, they consider you back to work full time. The place where I can make the most money to pay her bills is working on movie sets in Pittsburgh. I acquire that $899 on my 10th day. I can't work on a movie set.
He is forced
I
to
can't
work.
make enough money to pay her bills, so I have to keep dipping into my savings continuously. And that's stupid that the Health Care Act even put that clause in there to stop me from paying my bills so that I have to do that.
He is forced to give up his pension, his Social Security, and
They even want to take away part of my state teacher's retirement
Yeah,
because they
they can
consider me
retire.
back to work full-time and I have to be forced to give that up. That is the Health Care Act. You don't really have much to do with that, but you might be able to put some fuel into that to stop that clause.
as well as our donors.
That clause is ridiculous.
50%.
I'm sorry, Jerry, what's that?
I think it's 50%, isn't it, if you're working like a full-time job?
No, if I require $899, they take it all away.
It's $900, so.
Yeah, once I hit $900, $899 I can acquire. and I reached my 900th dollar towards health care on my 11th day, about an hour into it. So that's 10 days I can work.
Now,
That's 2 weeks in a quarter.
I have a question where premiums are concerned. As it's set up, if you're single, you say you pay a single plan. If you have a family, you pay a family plan. Why can't there be a plan for retirees with spouse? Our children, we have 4 grown children, grown and on their own, making their own way, paying their own bills, paying their own health insurance. But we still have to, as retirees, have to pay a family plan just for him and I. Why can't there be a middle ground where the retirees only have to pay for themselves and their spouse? I feel it's only fair.
I think we pretty much covered everything that's on my list. I'm sure there's more things that will come to my brain afterwards, and I'm sorry I should have wrote my list sooner. But thank you very much for listening to me.
You know that there's a way to comment online if you want to add additional things.
And what is that way, please?
You have that, the link.
Is it on Facebook or is it through PEIA's website?
There's a,
No,
got back there.
it's on both the website and Facebook.
I have another question. Every year in January, he gets a new book for Humana. I'm with HealthSmart. I get no new books, I get no new information on what my coverage is, what's changing on my coverage. I'm just searching in the dark. I have to constantly call, well, actually, they won't talk to me because I'm not the policyholder. He is.
That's another thing. And
I'm the patient, but he's the policyholder.
I even sent letters down saying that she should be able to speak for herself.
I have sent letters to PEIA saying she should be able to speak for herself, and they still won't permit it. They have to have me call them and then approve for her to speak for herself while I'm on the phone with her because I'm the policyholder as a retiree. Once that letter is sent, it should stand with them. Why do we have to? I mean, it might be a day that I need to call them that I was scheduled to do lighting at the Capitol Theater and I have to give up lighting at the theater for the day so I can pay my bills, so I can call the insurance company so we can get them to pay her bills. Don't know which way to go. They've got me turning in too many ways and I don't know which way to turn. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to cry the blues, but that's where it's at.
Thank you for your time. I think we've taken up enough of it. I will check into your website.
Is it possible to get her on the health plan versus the Humana after retirement, or are we stuck with the Humana after retirement?
Do you know?
I don't know that. That's something we'll have to, we can ask.
We're writing down these questions
Okay,
so we can.
because that's definitely one question we have, because the health plan was a much better policy than Humana, even though it costs me normally like $200 more a month. $200 is cheap compared to what I'm paying. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Kim Clark.
Good morning. Is it still morning?
Almost.
4 minutes to go.
Okay. I teach at John Marshall High School, and I've been there since 2002. I teach science, but we've been a member of PEIA since my husband got employed at West Virginia Schools in 1984. The benefits were the pay wasn't that great, and he considered getting a job at one of the industries down in West County and Marshall County, or Marshall County. But I discouraged him because I said, our benefits are great, and it's better, for a family too.
because he had regular normal hours. And in fact, in 1990, when I became pregnant for our fourth child, we had just been offered the health plan prior to that. And I paid $5 for my first copay for him and never saw another bill. And the other kids cost me well over $300. And in the 80s, that was quite a bit. In the past several years, our deductibles have just been going up and up and up. And I'm still, up until like the last month, I was still paying off our deductibles. Our state has a shortage of over 700 teachers, and I think a big result of this is because of our benefits. There's no reason for them to be here. And even in the last 2 years, now they can't even use their sick days for anything. So teachers, why be here? There's no incentive at all for them to teach in West Virginia. I think that again, they've been talking about the taxes or the gas industry. We just leased our gas to Pug Hill, I think, and we paid $25,000 in taxes on the portion that we get. So what's this being used for? This past fall, my husband was diagnosed with NASH, and he's been retired, disability retirement, but I've been picking up the insurance until he got diagnosed with NASH, and we tried to go to Cleveland Clinic, and the health plan would not approve it. So I finally talked him into checking out Medicare, and so he decided to get on the Medicare, and in January he was able to go to Cleveland Clinic for the first time to try to find out what we need to do with this problem. Also, I don't have a whole lot of health issues. I am pre-diabetic, and I have hypothyroidism. But I need inserts for my shoes, the orthotics, and that's all I need. In April, several years ago, when I went to the doctor to get new orthotics, he said, "Oh, they just quit providing those. That's no longer something that you can get." So what's my alternative but to buy them for myself, or to take pain medicine, or to have some sort of surgery done, which I don't want to do. So after about 5 years of having old orthotics, I finally said, when we got our tax money, or when we got the gas well money, I said, one thing I want to do is to buy new orthotics. So I forked out the money to get my own. So, I don't know what the answer is, but there has to be some answer. This is just getting ridiculous. Thank you for your time, and thank you, everybody who came, and I surely wish that we would have more people here.
Thank you.
Jenny Craig.
Slide it out to show.
My name is Jenny Craig, and I'm a special education teacher in Ohio County. I do want to thank you for hearing our concerns and working to collectively come up with solutions. According to the task force website, the mission of the task force is to provide a viable, long-term solution to the issues facing West Virginia Public Employees Insurance Agency, but without drastic changes to both policy and practice, affordable insurance will not be possible for West Virginia's over 200,000 public employees. According to the West Virginia Center on Budget Policy, over the last 2 years alone, 2016 to 2018, an average teacher and their family making $45,000 with 2 kids covered by PEIA has seen premiums alone increase by $348 annually, and co-pays, deductibles have grown by $610, leading to an increase of $958 annually just from 2016 to 2018. This, paired with the slow growth in public employee salaries, is crippling hard-working West Virginia families and forcing many to forgo medical care or leave their professions. Without a healthy and strong workforce that has access to affordable care, West Virginians will continue to leave these professions, professions that are key to public service and a strong West Virginia. PEIA premium increases, out-of-pocket max increases, co-pays and medication increases, as well as formulary changes during the plan year, have personally affected my family. You heard from my mother earlier, Jackie. But my mom is not the only diabetic in my family. My husband is also a type 1 diabetic. And just this year alone, his insulin has increased from $25 copay at the pharmacy to over $175 a month. Something that through no fault of his own, he must take daily to sustain his life. He has also been forced to switch insulin brands due to the formulary changing in the middle of the plan year. I'm going to explain how detrimental that can be for a diabetic, so bear with me. My husband previously took Novolog Mix 70/30 to regulate his blood sugar. And he and his endocrinologist of over 25 years had continuously decided on the appropriate medication and the amounts throughout this time. In January, we were told that he no longer had access to a medication that both he and his doctor felt comfortable with to maintain his blood sugar levels. This is a delicate balance for any diabetic, but especially a type 1. Despite our efforts, his doctor's efforts to petition the health plan and PEIA, we were denied access to his insulin and forced to pay 100% of the cost. We were forced to switch to the Humalog Mix, which is a 75/25. For several weeks and months, he struggled to regulate his blood sugar levels and had frequent highs and mostly lows. Working both full-time on our farm, this was very scary. A high or a low can kill a diabetic. This is unacceptable. PEIA, or any insurance company, should not have the power to dictate quality or quantity of care, or choose which medication its recipients have access to. This must change. Quality of care and medication should be between the patient and their doctor. I struggle myself with digestive issues. My pancreas does not produce enough enzymes. Over the summer I got very sick. I lost 25 plus pounds. I was put on a medication called pancreolipase, which is enzymes. The sample worked wonderfully. I could eat. I didn't feel sick. But it's over $800 a month. So I simply cannot afford it. So I don't take it. I urge you to focus on solutions that will provide your members with access to affordable and quality health care. And some of those funding solutions that will help to close the gap and budget shortfalls faced by PEIA include increasing the natural gas severance tax. According to the West Virginia Center of Budget and Policy, increasing the severance tax on natural gas from its current 5%, although companies currently pay much less after tax breaks, to 7.5%, would produce an additional $69 million this fiscal year alone. It is projected to increase to as much as $115 million by fiscal year 2023. Another way to generate revenue to fund PEIA to bridge the gap is to increase the corporate net income tax back to its pre-2007 rates. The corporate net income tax was lowered from 9% in 2007 to 6.5% to attract jobs to West Virginia. However, there are fewer private sector jobs than a decade ago. This has done nothing except hurt West Virginia families while catering to corporations and businesses. According to the West Virginia Center of Budget and Policy, increasing the net tax back to the 9% pre-2007 rates could generate an additional $42 million this year alone, and could stand to generate $83 million by fiscal year 2023. The last funding solution I would like to propose is to adopt an adult use marijuana bill and earmark a percentage of the profits, one that has been introduced in West Virginia, to earmark a percentage of the profits towards PEIA and public education. According to the Colorado State Department of Revenue website, from fiscal year January 2018, revenue related to taxes, licensure, fees, and renewals was a staggering $86 million. $635,263,000. If you would add fiscal year 2014 through January 2018, you would get a figure of over $725 million. Not only can passage of an adult use bill generate billions of dollars, there is an increasing body of evidence that shows the positive impact on opioid addictions. According to the West Virginia Gazette, 909 West Virginians died of drug overdoses in 2017 alone. Adult use, by many studies, has been shown as an effective tool to combat the opioid crisis that we are facing in alarming rates of addictions and death. We need to start thinking outside the box. So today, I urge you to take our considerations, to examine the benefits of raising the gas and oil severance by 2.5%, to increasing the corporate net income tax back to 9%, and by recommending an adult use marijuana initiative with monies earmarked for PEIA and public education to create a long-lasting, sustainable funding source to keep our valuable public employees and their families in West Virginia. Thank you.
A question there on your adult marijuana use. Do you have an amount of tax? Is it said you have a like
Like a
percentage of marijuana?
No, I can't remember how much.
I don't know what somebody have a number back there?
Yes,
You gonna Google it? Okay.
From what we've done this week, a small percentage goes to public education.
It does. There's a small percentage that goes to building funds, and then there's an additional revenue that goes towards public education. I don't know the figures.
All right, thank you very much.
Just that amount, they could fully fund PEIA, that we're not paying for anything.
Yeah, that would totally fund PEIA right now is what, 857 million a year? I think that's
Okay, my name is Philip Howard. I'm actually a teacher at Ohio County Schools. I'm going to make this a little bit brief because a lot of these points, or all the emphasis here has been echoed or stated before. My point is actually moving or working toward preserving public education, preserving welfare, also preserving the sanctity of public education. And doing that not on the backs of the taxpayers here, West Virginians, but doing that by actually charging corporations really for the first time. A lot of the tax burdens here shoveled by are actually carried by the consumers. There are some solutions because the PEIA revenue funding, that includes the sugary drink tax, it includes possibly hiking the alcohol and tobacco tax, but again, those are taxes that fall upon the consumers or regular people. What we're asking is to thrust those burdens off the consumers and to put that probably on corporations and the out-of-state companies who extract the resources from the state. The wild thing is this, the severance tax here is roughly 5%. In Alaska, it's 25%. Other states out west, the severance tax is much higher. Effectively, I think the severance tax is here with rebates and everything else, probably around 2.5% to maybe 3%. The sad thing is this, when we don't charge for gas extraction or hydrocarbon extraction, what we're doing is we're transferring our wealth. So wealth is leaving the state and it's going to other states, other private corporations, and other individuals. The sad thing is this, the companies aren't going to go anywhere. The companies have invested in hydrocarbon resources here in gas. They've invested not only in manpower and skill and human capital, but they've also invested in capital itself, physical capital to extract the gas. This was mentioned actually a little bit earlier. Projections just by raising the severance tax by 2.5% could generate hundreds of millions of dollars in the next maybe 5 or 6 years. That would definitely cover any type of PEIA shortfall or deficit. Another thing, for the employees, there was concern about flight, teachers leaving the state. Education is the most important resource here in the state when you think about it. And on top of that too, some counties in the middle of the state, education is the biggest industry or the biggest employer, especially our counties away from rivers and the eastern panhandle. The wild thing is this, healthcare is a human right. It's also the entitlement to live as a human being. If we want our teachers to be skilled, if we want our classrooms to be rigorous, if we want a good, solid, quality education for our students, we have to retain our teachers through the incentive of healthcare itself. On top of that too, I think it was actually mentioned by the delegates earlier, we really don't know the impact of gas drilling. Obviously, hydrocarbons have a limited lifespan, they don't last forever, but we really don't assess the damage that's done to our infrastructure when it comes to roads, and we really don't assess either the damage done to water resources. What we need to do in West Virginia is we need to tax the gas to actually prepare for a post-hydrocarbon or a post-gas future. We have billions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars in reserve for the state, to keep the state successful, self-sufficient, and also independent. Thank you.
Jeremy Radamos?
I'm not speaking.
No?
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
Fun PEIA.
Oh. It says speaking, no. Sorry, I didn't read the whole thing. Pete and Aaron?
Yeah, Pete
Farrar.
Yeah. You.
Sorry for rearranging
Oh, you're
the
fine.
podium, but I don't like to have my back to the audience. First of all, I want to thank everybody for turning out today. It's very important we make our voices heard. For public officials that are in office right now, can you please stand, anybody that's going to run for office, can you please stand for that? You guys need to be recognized. This is an important enough issue, and as voters, we need to make note of who's here and who's not. Back in 2016, I spoke before a committee, and Ted Cheatham was here, and I kind of think outside the box. My thing is, what can we do to try to resolve funding problems and come up with ideas? And if many of you were here back in November, October 2016, I came up with the idea of sports book betting. And one of the delegates, I kind of took this to heart. This was my idea. Ted Cheatham said it was a great idea. I sent a letter to the chief of staff at that time, Nick Casey, and I have a paper trail on it. This was my idea on how to fund PEIA. And for somebody else to take credit for it, it's really a punch in my face. So I want to get that out on the table right now. The other thing, for the people on the dais that don't know me, I had a spinal cord injury on June the 25th, 1983. College graduate at WVU. After my accident, I went back to college, earned a teaching certificate. Also, I have 2 associate degrees from West Virginia, Northern here. I could never get a job due to pre-existing injury. If 8 people would have took a chance on me, is where I'm working now at the West Virginia State Tax Force. I came up with the hard work ethic back here in West Virginia, Northern Panhandle. My grandparents were immigrants from Sicily. And we weren't taught to take a hand out. All I asked for was a hand up to help me get back on track. And that's why I work. What hurts me is seeing the struggles of our people here in the state. Many educators, you guys had me in school. Mr. Barberin, I can still remember you driving a school bus with me when you were starting out. Problem is, how are we going to fund PEIA? Talk about severance tax. Everybody wants a piece of the severance tax. I have a couple other ideas here that I want to pass on to you. As far as the marijuana, that's a great idea. And I know Mr. Elenfeld, you worked against drugs in the state, opioids, but John Denver talked about the Rocky Mountain High. People are getting that out there in Denver, Colorado right now. They're making tax dollars on it. Let's legalize it here and put those tax dollars strictly to fund PEIA and help our West Virginia residents. The governor, he wants more tourism. Yes, this is a beautiful state. But you know what, like John Denver, wild, wonderful West Virginia, bring me home country roads. Let's legalize marijuana and let those people from out of state experience the West Virginia wild and wonderful. Bring it here. The other thing, I consider Joe Manchin a dear friend, family friend. And I asked Joe, I said, Joe, he had these ideas, he wanted to get rid of the food tax. And I asked him, I can't remember how many millions of dollars was involved with every 1% that you took off on the food tax. That's why we're struggling here in the state. I say the other option is, let's put a 1% food tax back on. Not only on food, but alcohol, pop, candy, and tobacco. Dedicate that money for the PEIA. You have three options there. I'm taking sports book off the options now because now the governor's got his fingers in it. We don't know where that money's going to go. I use a urologist out of network. This guy's probably the top 5 in the nation urologist. Now I've gone round and round with Ted on this, Ted Cheatham. Well, he's outside our network, and I have to ask to utilize this guy when I go see him. If I'm going to have someone examine me and do procedure on me, I want someone that's doing 5 or 10 of these procedures a day, not one procedure a year. So we need to open up this network. Governor Justice, if he needs some medical care, God bless him, he probably can go anywhere in the nation. Because he has the money to do it. For us, that's the same thing. We can negotiate what the price is. When you go to a doctor and it charges, I'm just going to throw a number out, it's $500, and because for a charge, because we get a network discount or whatever the discount is, we're being charged maybe $50. But if you don't have insurance, you're stuck. So we need to be able to have that flexibility. For supplies, I use urological supplies. I was dealing with a company in Oklahoma. They accepted what the state PEIA paid. All of a sudden, that company wasn't a West Virginia company. It wasn't in any of the bordering counties of the state of West Virginia. Guess what? I can't use that company anymore. We need to do away with that. We need to go to a free market system. Somebody can provide those supplies from Oklahoma, Nebraska, California, I don't care where they are. Your diabetic supplies. They can give us the best price, let's use it. Last thing I'm going to mention to you, 2 more things, I'll be done because it's been a long morning. The other thing, lost my train of thought, that's what happens when you get old. Okay. My wife's my caregiver. I like to give her a nice round of applause. Without her, I wouldn't be able to do that. were talking about the free market system and the diabetic supplies and that. You know, I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought on some things, but you know, let's look at the free market and try to do those things and you know, take care of our people. Well, I know what I want to say. You know, the state of West Virginia, we have 1.8 million residents. 800,000 of those are probably people that don't pay taxes because they're young people under the age of 18 or retirees. So the burden's put on the 1 million people that are here. We're a small state, I realize that. But companies have come in, we talk about the severance tax on gas. This is the last point I'm going to make. Poor West Virginia has been pillaged by outsiders. They extract our natural resources. They leave and there's nothing left behind. And they've taken advantage of our West Virginia employees. We've worked in unsafe mines, we've worked in chemicals, and now they're paying for the price with their life. Let's change things around. Again, I want to thank you as its board. Helen Matheny's a dear friend of mine. Please tell her I said hello. We worked together on a governor's committee for health and welfare, people of West Virginia, and she can tell you a lot of things that we wanted to try to put through. We couldn't because of federal regulations and red tape, and that's what we need to get rid of. Again, thank you for your time.
Mike Barrow. Delegate Herrera.
Thank you, Christine, and thank you, Joe, and thank you, Dr. Young. And I'm very familiar with Christine and Joe because we worked hand in hand in the legislature this year, and I'm very, very proud of the service personnel and teachers for bringing this to light. Because without the work stoppage, and by the way, I'm a lifetime member of WVEA. I'm a public employee, just like you, retired lifetime member. In fact, I may have been the one that told Bob Trevery to join that.
I thought it was a member.
It was the day that I had to jump his car, he and Mark Sliger's car, because they left the lights on all day in the daytime.
It wasn't my car.
But anyway, I just want to thank you. Let people know too that this would not have come about had it not been for the work stoppage. This is a task force right here. This is not the PEIA board, okay? The PEIA board is the one that makes the decisions on the health care, on the costs and things like that. Okay, these are people that are just going to relay messages back to the governor when they all get together. However, it is the legislature's responsibility then to enact any of the suggestions that they make. So please understand that. Also, what I'd like to have them do too, if you all recall, we always had meetings up here with PEIA in the fall. This year we didn't have one. We did not have one at all. I would recommend that you bring those meetings back. 2 years ago as well, 2 members of the PEIA board were eliminated. I don't know whether you all knew that or not. Just so happened that those 2 members represented the working men and women of West Virginia. They represented unions. They also represented public employees. I would ask that those people be added back to that. It's not only what we need in terms of increasing money for PEI, it's what we need to be aware of that doesn't get added to our tax burdens. Keep in mind, don't let them enact the inventory tax unless they have a permanent funding for that. And right now, with that inventory tax that they tried to pass last year, it would have just benefited big business. Coal, oil and gas, some manufacturing a little bit. It would not have benefited any small businesses whatsoever. And the way that they said we're going to make this whole, everything's going to be okay. But that may have fallen back on the burdens of the taxpayers. guess what? Less money in your pockets. So don't let them do that. Also, with regard to certain things, and I tell you, this was brought to light this year because of the punitive measures of Go 365, also with reducing seniority for teachers, things like that, eliminating it basically. The people just had enough. They absolutely had enough of that. Don't ever let them bring back Go 365. It's punitive, it's intrusive, it's horrible. And I just want to say that with regard to the PEIA, I know the House Democrats made this a priority 2 years ago. Basically fell upon deaf ears. I think that Joe and Christine can tell you that. What we were able to get, though, at that particular time was with an increase in the cigarette tax of 65 cents, we were able to get the premiums reduced for retirees from 12% down to 6%. We also were able to get an extra $10 million a year for 5 years. I think we're in year 3 or whatever of that right now. I believe it took about $29 million to freeze PEIA this year, and it's going to cost an additional $50 million. With that, you've heard a number of different suggestions. I think all of them are good, all of them are viable, if enacted by the legislature. The one, again, that I think is to me the most prudent would be the oil and gas raising the severance. We all hear from the poor oil and gas people that there's no severance in Pennsylvania. Joe mentioned that Pennsylvania might not have a severance tax, but they have an impact fee. The impact fee is way more than the severance tax. So don't let them pull any wool over your eyes that way. And I think now that, it all depends upon which way the legislature goes. And I'll be perfectly honest. When the Democrats were in power, they did not raise the oil and gas severance. Okay? When Republicans have been in power, they've not raised the oil and gas severance. Blame goes both ways if we want to do it that way. There's going to be a new legislature this year. We don't know who's going to be in control. Maybe the Republicans are, maybe the Democrats are, maybe it's split. Now's the time for people to put their money where their mouth is. I'm not going to be there anymore. And I think, too, that what you can do, too, with regard to the oil and gas people, just follow the money. Just follow the money, follow where the campaign contributions go. You never saw any with me. I'm done. I'm not finished there. But follow that. And I think you can see that, where maybe some loyalties lie with regard to that. But anyway, thanks for listening to me, and I appreciate these people giving up their time to be on the task force. A lot of people think that this is just a waste of time for these people. I certainly hope not. But again, give your thoughts to these folks, but please understand that they are the ones that are just going to make suggestions. Okay? It is the legislature's responsibility to take those suggestions and either enact them fully, enact them partially, or not do anything at all. Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry, it's in there too. Sorry.
Yeah, we're fine.
Yeah.
I can't take his place, you know that. Mine is just going to be very short and sweet. Instead of depending on the severance taxes and all the additional taxes, make it just a flat out line item in the general budget. And that way, in the future, fully fund this. In the future, when severances, the oil, gas, coal, everything else is burned out, we're still there, we're still funded. That's all I have to say.
Joe, one more thing.
Yes.
Just be careful. Be careful as well. And I see a lot of retirees here. I wish there were more active employees here, to be honest with you. But those of us that have been here a long time, remember we had 100% of our insurance covered a long time ago. Then it went to 80-20. Keep in mind that there have been many, many bills introduced to reduce it to 70-30, 60-40, to take the caps off entirely. That's another thing that we have to make sure that we don't let happen. If it stays at 80-20, okay, I'll go along with that, Jerry, but I'm telling you, You can't get everything with it, okay? I'm just, please understand that. You know, and I'm one of you. I'm one of 232,000. All right, and also, we had a voice down there too. We had representation. Teachers, service personnel have representation. Public employees don't. Public employees are at-will employees, and they're a little bit afraid to come out and step to the forefront. Because you know what? Their boss can come and just say, get your stuff and get the hell out of here. Okay, so it's the voices of the teachers and service personnel that act in favor of everybody. But please, make sure that these public employees are treated with the utmost respect, and hopefully they can support everything that we're trying to do here as well. Thank you.
Anyone else? There's nobody else on this list. Would anybody else like to speak?
Could I say one thing real quick if everyone's done?
Yes,
There's actually two things.
One is the insurance. I don't know if you can do anything about this, but the insurance companies have discounts with hospitals and that for certain procedures. And I don't know, why can't we get the same discounts when we pay the bills? When my wife came out of the James, the total bill was almost $1 million. My copay was extremely high. When I drove clear to the James to talk to somebody in accounting to see if I could get it reduced down, their statement to me was, do you live in Ohio? I said, no. They said, well, we could give you like a $48,000 discount if you lived in Ohio. I said, wait a minute, I'll be back next week. They said, why? I'm going back home and buying a house in Ohio. They said, well, you can't do that now. I said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, you know, for $48,000, I can buy the house, turn around and sell it a year later and save $48,000. This is stupid. I said, I had to pay almost $200,000 in copay for her hospital bills, and I cashed in retirements from years of work to pay them, and I paid them all up front right there on that day. And that's stupid that I should have to do that. I had doctors telling me, give them $5 a month. You'll owe them when you die, and they'll have to forget it. That's stupid. I don't do that. If I owe a bill, I like to pay it. And I'm sorry about that, but that's my feeling. And another thing is cancer patients were supposed to be exempt from pain medicine if they were proven to have pain. Now the oncologists are afraid to give out pain meds because of the fentanyl acts and all this stuff coming in because of the people that kill themselves. My wife was getting a 25 milligram fentanyl patch to kill the pain in her legs from the chemo that she takes, and she's not allowed to have anything now. And that fentanyl patch was the last 3 days. She always stretched it out to 3 days, but they said, no, you can't have it anymore. So now I have to, and I'm not complaining about doing this. I rub her feet every day. I do everything I can to make her feel better. And we can't get meds to take care of it. It's wrong. It's wrong. I'm sorry. I am done now. Thank you.
Yes.
I wasn't going to say anything. I'm Pat Allen. I am a current teacher in Ohio County, and I'm retiring at the end of this year after 40 years. My children were educated here and well educated. One had to move to Michigan to get a job, one had to move to Maryland to get a job, and now I'm retiring and I want to be near my kids. And the result is I'm going to pay thousands of dollars more for my medical insurance because I'm moving out of state. Not fair. You forced my kids out of the state by taking away the jobs, and now I have to pay more because there's no job in West Virginia.
Ours too, our kids move
That's
out of state.
just, my payments are going to be through the roof. Okay, you talk about out of network, we're going to be way out of network. And you talk about 60-40, I think it is 60-40 when you go out of state. And that's if you're in network, out of state, correct? Out of network is even more. It's just not right. I mean, I did my job, I gave as much as I could to this state and this county, and I don't think I should be punished because my kids live out of state.
On her note, if I may speak, we were told by PEA before the Affordable Care Act kicked in that PEIA coverage would follow us wherever we would go. And I feel like we've been lied to because now it doesn't. And I don't feel it's right. Like her, our children have moved out of state to get better jobs. And I can't even go visit them and my grandkids because if something happens to me and I fall ill, I'm out of network. So I'm stuck within the state of West Virginia.
Joe, also, somebody had told me about this, and my wife had some surgery done. She had a bone in the back of her neck, had to be kind of whittled down a little bit there, and her final cost was about $2,000. And the guy told me, he said, "Dude, call the department out there, the credit department. You can negotiate that." Well, I did, and I told them that somebody told me I could get a 20% discount. And lo and behold, they gave it to me out of Whitney Hospital. I mean, so I thought that was a pretty good deal. I mean, it saved me some money,
Well, Wheeling Hospital will give you a 20% discount if the day that you register to go in, you pay right there on the spot.
No, this was afterwards. I paid this.
Now, that doesn't make sense to me. I've had that happen to me numerous times.
I paid it afterwards, so I forgot to pay it.
Okay, so everybody said everybody got to speak?
I have a question. This is kind of off beat, but Humana, and I'm a pretty healthy guy, I'm a type 2 diabetic, but I was wondering, when did the insurance company start dictating medication that you should take? Right. That happened to me. I'm going like, hey guys, I've been on it for 2 months. I mean, just on the Humana. And I was saying like, I can't take this stuff. And I'm like, when did that start? I talked to my doctor, he said, they did what? And I'm like, hey, I don't think. But when did this start to happen?
They dictate your hospital stays.
No, they wanted to dictate what I was going to take. They prescribed it for me. I said, I can't take it. I just thought it was kind of odd.
They did the same with me.
I like to ask questions so that I get the feeling of everybody, and don't hate me for asking these, but I'm going to ask you 2 questions. If this was a perfect world and we could put a ballot box out here when you come in, how many of you would vote to support a gas severance tax in West Virginia for PEIA? All right, let me ask you question number 2. If this was a perfect world and we put a ballot box back there and we could ask you this question, how many of you would support legalizing the use of marijuana tax and support PEIA? All right.
Can I make a suggestion in respect to Mr. Ehlenfeld, who has fought so hard against the drug problem in this state? Because, for starters, we were told that cancer patients were supposed to be exempt from the opioid situation. When it come down to it, we were the first ones that were yanked off. The fentanyl problem is still a huge problem. Yes, the numbers are coming down, but I think you could agree with me that the numbers of overdoses is not coming down. What needs to be checked into is the refineries for the CBD oil. Do the research that takes the THC that makes you high out. And you will find that you will have less drug problems with this American marijuana law that's been passed.
Okay, we want to again thank each and every one of you for your comments and sharing your concerns and your ideas. If you are unable to complete our survey, it's available online and also is a comment option. Should you remember anything else you wish to share, you can get online and share it. Thank all of you.
Thank you. Nice to get you out there. Appreciate it, Doctor. Thank you. Christine, thank you. Joe, thank
I do have one quick question. On I truly understand. I had started out on the high dose, and I had been supposed to read that. And now
What's that
I gotta go with the grandson.
I might have a classroom after this block goes through my classroom. Because I